I have met young people who are in college, and when asked the question, do you wish you had been adopted at 16, they'll say, we still want to be adopted because we need a family.
There were 2 publications that came out last year, and that really highlights the point. Aging Out, which was a documentary featuring 3 kids aging out of foster care. There was another book called On Their Own, which featured 10 kids aging out of foster care. Both publications came out in 2004. Before the end of 2004, 3 of those 13 kids were already dead. I mean, there are grave consequences when you discharge kids to nobody but themselves.
It is horrifying to think how many kids every day leave our system without a permanent family. I strongly feel that if we take kids away from the only family they know, good, bad, or ugly, it's their family, we owe them another family. And we owe them to do whatever it takes to get them another family. And I personally believe, and this may not be popular, that independent living is a way of saying we failed to find you a family.
It's difficult for me to imagine a time when the best possible outcome for a child would be to remain a ward of the state. Even if that child is not able to physically be in the home with the family because of mental illness or other kinds of issues, that they would need to have some special kinds of treatments that were outside of the home. It seems to me, and it's in my heart, that, you know, a child with a mom and or a dad is in better stead than one without. That advocacy that a family can do on behalf of their child, I think, is critical.
See, what we have done in the past is if this kid is in this kind of place or that kind of place, we can't work on adoption because he needs to be in that place. Well, that assumes that adoption's a place. It's not. It's a relationship. So that, and if my child needs to go to the hospital, they don't stop being my child. If the child needs residential treatment, they don't stop being your child. And the same goes for a kid who needs a family. Just because they may need treatment does not mean they don't need a family. We have confused treatment and permanence as if they were 2 mutually exclusive things when they're not.
Well, I would really like to hear from both of you about what's different from the last time we were here about your thinking. I know you're getting along better at home, but what's different about your thinking about adoption? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first, if you want me to. I said, that's something we have been talking about, and I told her whatever makes her happy, I'm willing to do it. If she want to stay with me, that's great.
I want to get adopted by them, but I just have to take more steps in saying what I want to do for it.
She want to be for sure. And as I told her, that's a big step for her. Yeah. She wanted to make sure that this is what she, because it's a permanent deal. Absolutely. And like I told her, I understand that 100%, because that's even if I get into a relationship, that's a big step that I would have to make. Absolutely. To want to be involved with someone, and that's a big step for her to want to be involved with me for the rest of her life.
Well, one of the most important things, I think, is to involve the youth themselves, because it's their life. They're old enough to really have some understanding of what they want their life to be like. And so we think that the youth should be at the center of the planning for themselves. And also, we find that the youth are a very good resource for finding connections for themselves. Often, it's someone that the youth has known in the past or in the present that can be developed into a permanent connection for them.
One of the main barriers we felt is children themselves, young teens, do not want to be adopted, or at least express that they don't want to be adopted. And the average agency will just write in their record, child refuses adoption, and move on. And we felt that we really needed to talk to those children in a way that would make sense for them to understand that that wasn't the best thing to do.
Even in our home state of New York, they're no longer accepting that it's a good idea to ask a kid if he wants to be adopted, and when they say no, they just automatically now change their goal to independent living. They want to do work with that specific child to sort of unpeel the no and see what's behind it before. I mean, no one's going to force adoption on a child, and nobody should, but at least we're not just accepting because a kid says no today that means no forever or for the rest of his foster care childhood.
Sometimes even though they'll say they don't want to. Well, do you want to have relationships with anybody at all? Do you want to get connected with adults? Do you want to do anything with other people? Do you want to be connected with families or organizations or with people or with groups? And we'll start with that and see how that happens. Maybe mentoring programs, big brother, big sister. Sometimes they'll feel much more comfortable doing that. And maybe develop those capacities. And as the capacities develop, then you can maybe approach them with, hey, you still don't want a family? You still don't want to be adopted?
It's like I made my mind like, oh, I don't want to be adopted anymore. But it's like, it seemed like my little brother was doing good. And then after talking with Doris and she was explaining to me it was like a good opportunity. If I went, I could meet with another program called You Gotta Believe, meet with them, and they like introduced me to different families, and I could ask them a whole bunch of questions and everything. And that's when I met Renee Harris, the person who I'm with now.
They came up with this adoption thing. You know, at first I was like, nah. I ain't doing this. This can't, I ain't ready for that. You know, but then I sat back and thought, you know, I was just watching it. And just like my life changed real big in like 2 weeks. It's like, in 2 weeks my life changed. You know, after I heard about it, I was like, I've been waiting for this all my life. You know, and not for it to come at me just to let this pass. You know, a lot of kids wish they could do this, wish they could be in my shoes. So I'm like, just to let this pass, I was like, nah, I can't do that.